Hey team, I hope everyone's doing well today. Coming on today, my name is Lenore LeMay, here from New York, upstate, not the city. And I am here to talk about the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John C. Maxwell. Now, last week, Melissa did such a great job, and she talked about the law of the lid, which was chapter 1. And she's talked about the leadership ability is the lid that determines a person's level of effectiveness as well as the organization's effectiveness. And today we're going to go over chapter 2 and chapter 3. Now, chapter 2 is about the law of influence. John says, the true measure of leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. And he goes on to give an example of Mother Teresa and Princess Diana, who, by the way, died less than a week apart, which I always found very interesting. Now, Mother Teresa and Princess Diana couldn't be any farther apart in their differences, in their stature. Diana was tall, Mother Teresa was very small. Their age. But both women were considered the most caring people of the world, according to the 1996 poll by the London Daily Mail. So that's just very interesting. And both women had a life of influence and leadership. Diana rose to fame as the Princess of England. She lived a seemingly glamorous life. And she utilized her given status and platform to serve others. And I think that really made her stand out among the rest of the royalty and things like that. She was able to raise money for a variety of charities, including AIDS and leprosy. And she's probably best known on her ban for landmines. She started out as a spokeswoman, and in doing so, built up many relationships. And that's how she became a woman of influence, through her relationships. She used this influence to bring positive change to the world. Her influence was so independent, aside from her role as princess, that even after her divorce and when she lost that title, she still remained a very influential woman. Diana was considered a great leader because she had great influence. She made things happen, and her leadership was influential. Diana's title may have been a catalyst to her to earn her influence, but it didn't sustain it, but her leadership did. Now, Mother Teresa was the embodiment of vision and compassion, dedication, and an excellent power. She was an excellent power to inspire others. She lived a life of poverty and service to others. Over the years, Mother Teresa's missionaries of charity grew to thousands, serving the poorest of the poor in 450 centers around the world. Influencing others with her work was the main characteristic that differentiated her from other people. Her lifelong devotion and care to the poor, the sick, and the disadvantaged was one of the highest examples of service to our humanity, which earned her the Nobel Peace Prize. Now, interesting enough, Mother Teresa, just imagine she's in the United States in 1994. She's speaking at the National Prayer Breakfast in front of many people, politicians, a variety of people. She spoke of God's love, of families, she said that we must love one another and care for one another, and those statements got her great applause. But then she delved in a little deeper to what those things really meant. And she gave examples like how we can't put our own interests first. That she talked about leaving parents in nursing homes and not going to visit them. And she said the great destroyer of peace today is abortion. Now, in front of the audience that she was with, she definitely had people squirming in their seats. But they didn't boo her or leave the room. at what she said. Instead, they stayed and listened to what she said because she was a real leader. Now, leading in a volunteer organization is a truer test because you have very little other than influence to get and keep people on board. I know I've had that experience myself. I was one of a handful of women who started the Magnificat chapter in Albany. It's an international ministry to women. And that definitely could not have been built up to where it is today without some influence, because it was a very time-consuming ministry. And when you're asking people to devote a lot of time and stuff, it takes a lot of influence to get them to do that, and they have to believe in what you're doing. And I also have served in teen ministry, where it's the same thing. It's a lot of hours of volunteer work, and it requires influence and people to see your vision and want to follow your vision. So Maxwell goes on to talk about the 5 myths of leadership. So we'll dive into those. The management myth. Leading and managing is not the same, he says. Management focuses on maintaining systems and processes, and leadership is about moving people in the right direction. The second myth is the entrepreneur myth. He says not all entrepreneurs are good with people. You can't influence people, you can't lead. If you can't influence people, you can't lead. The third myth is the knowledge myth. Leadership has nothing to do with education. And he goes on to say that look at some of the universities, that they have people with the highest IQs working in the universities, but it doesn't mean that they're great leaders there. The fourth myth is the pioneer myth. Some believe that anyone who is out in front of the crowd is the leader. That's not necessarily true. But being first isn't always the same as leading. To be a leader, you must have people intentionally following your lead and acting on your vision. The fifth myth is the position myth. You don't need position to lead. Look at Mother Teresa. She certainly did not start out in any position whatsoever. And even if somebody takes away your position, like you can look at Princess Diana when she got her divorce, they can't take away your influence over the lives of those who follow you. Does that make sense? So he goes on to talk about 7 major areas in which we need to look at and evaluate our own leadership. And I like this, and I wanted to talk about it a little bit because I think it's kind of like a daily examine. I know in my faith, at the end of the day, we should take some time and take a look at our day and take a look at the things that we failed to do, things that we didn't do very well and stuff like that, and to reflect on those before we go to bed. So I kind of looked at this as something that you can reflect on and I can reflect on as where are our strengths and weaknesses and our leadership abilities. The first major area he says to look at is character. Who you are. True leadership always begins within a person. Character matters. Choose to be more than what others expect from you. Always go above and beyond. The second area is relationships. Who you know. Leadership depends on relationships, and I know we talk a lot about this in our business, that the best way to build our business is to develop relationships. The deeper the relationships, the stronger the potential for leadership. Choose to reach out to others and make a difference in their lives. The third is knowledge, what you know. Information is vital to a leader. You have to do your homework. Spend time to get to know your industry, get to know your team, and get to know your clients, the people that you're trying to sell to. 4 is intuition, what you feel. Leaders recognize and influence intangibles like energy, morale, timing, and momentum. These are important things to have some intuition about for leadership. The 5th is experiences, where you've been. The greater the challenges you faced as a leader in the past, the more likely followers are to give you a chance in the future. Your past failures don't prove anything other than that you're on a journey, and don't give up. And in fact, past experiences are good things to talk about on our social media posts as well, so that we can relate to other people. People relate to our experiences. Number 6 is past successes, what you've done. Nothing speaks to followers like a good track record. The longer you lead and the more you improve on your successes, choose to build your house slowly, but with integrity. And 7 is ability, what you can do. What are you capable of, and will you deliver? People are watching you and they want to know that if you say something, you're going to do it. Decide to go the extra mile and go above and beyond. People notice when you live at a higher standard and can be counted on. He goes on to say, leadership is influence, nothing more and nothing less. So I have a couple of questions for you to just answer down below for these questions, okay? Do you see yourself as influential? And why or why not? Consider those around you. In what ways do they influence you? In what ways are you influencing others? What could you change to become a more effective influencer? Some examples are you could be a better listener, learn with interests and motivate what interests and motivates other people. What other things can you think of that would make you a more influential leader? So now we're going to go on to chapter 3. Chapter 3 is the law of process. John Maxwell says, leadership develops daily, not in one day. A great leader requires more than reading a book on leadership or stepping into a management position. Leadership requires personal growth. A leader is intentional about their time, their priorities, their tasks, their relationships, their attitude, their vision, their influence, and so much more. The secret of your success is found in your daily agenda. Successful leaders are lifelong learners. If you don't grow, you simply cannot lead. He goes on to tell us that there are 5 stages of leadership growth. And as I'm talking about these, try to think about what stage of leadership growth you find yourself in. Number 1, the stage is, I don't know what I don't know. Many people fail to recognize the opportunities coming their way simply because they don't grow. They fail to realize that leadership is influence, and we all influence someone. And many times we just don't know what we don't know. So if we don't try to find out and learn, then we're going to be stagnant in our growth. Number 2, I know that I need to know. Some of us take on positions where we are required to lead, only to discover that we are unable to fulfill the expectations. When your efforts fail to deliver, decide to step up your game, learn, improve yourself and your results. I know when I was working as a nurse and I was asked to become a supervisor, I wasn't fully qualified because that's a whole different dynamic, a whole different mindset and stuff to be a supervisor versus just a regular nurse working with a patient. So I knew that I needed to learn some things so that because I desired to manage effectively and to lead effectively. So I had to do some reading and learning. Number 3, I know what I don't know. Realize that you need leadership too. Without improvement, you will always be stuck on the same level. Remember the first law that Melissa talked about? Your leadership level will be a lid on your effectiveness and performance. It will keep you stuck no matter how hard you try and how hard you work. Number 4, I know and grow, and it starts to show. It takes more than one book or one training to become a great leader. Leadership is not a sprint, it's a lifelong marathon. You will learn, implement, fail, and get back up on the horse and repeat it all over again. That's part of leadership. Your goal is personal growth and getting better every day without any excuses. Number 5, I simply go because of what I know. Now, at this stage, growth becomes almost automatic. You're into your daily habits of development routines. You sharpened your instincts, and they're taking you to new places. The only way to improve in any area is to take action. Becoming a great leader is a process. It requires growth with intention. So now we're going to delve into some questions. What can you do today to find out what you don't know? And put the answers in the comments below so we can look at them together. What areas do you need to learn, change, or act on? What can you do to begin or maintain the daily discipline of personal growth and leadership? So I hope that was helpful today. If you have any questions on these two subjects, please put them in below and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. And I really would love to see your comments on the questions. Now you can stop the video to answer the question if you're watching this on replay. And thank you for those who have watched. I hope you enjoyed it. And God bless. I'll talk to y'all soon. Bye.